Hi, kindergartners. This is Miss Want here to do a read aloud with you today. The book we're going to read today is called My Papi Has a Motorcycle. The author of this book is Isa Quintero. She's the one who came up with the story in her brain and wrote the words. The illustrations are by Zeke Pena. In this book, a girl named Daisy is going to ride on a motorcycle with her father, and she's going to see and hear lots of things around her neighborhood. Before we get started, we're going to talk about a question that might help us understand better what happens in the book. The question today is, what is something that you always see or always hear in your home or out in your neighborhood? I'll give you a second to think about that. All right, now if you can, pause the video and talk to someone close to you about something you always hear or you always see in your neighborhood or in your home. One thing that I always hear in my home is cooking sounds. My husband Daniel really loves to cook, and so I always hear the oven and him chopping things and him stirring things because he really loves to cook. There's also a word in this book that's going to help us understand what happens. The word today is mural. Say that with me, mural. Let's snap it. Mural. Let's clap. Mural. Let's always count. Mural. How many syllables? 2 syllables in the word mural. A mural is a big giant painting on a wall outside, and usually it sends a message or it tells a story. In this book, Daisy and her Papi are going to see a mural while they ride around. Before we get started reading, we're going to do some noticings on the cover. That always helps us have an idea of what might happen before we start reading the book. I noticed that there's this character. I already know her name is Daisy. She's wearing a purple helmet with a unicorn on it. I see her eyes closed and she's smiling. And I noticed this other character who I think is probably her dad because the title is called My Papi Has a Motorcycle. So I'm thinking that this is her dad. I also noticed some things about her identity. I've already read the book, so I know that she identifies as a girl. That's her gender identity. Her family identity is that she lives with her mom, her dad, and her brother. She also has 2 grandparents who are in this story. Her age identity is that she's a kid. She's not an adult, she's a kid. Her language identity is that she's multilingual, which means she speaks more than 1 language. In this book, she speaks 2 languages. She speaks English and Spanish. Her race identity is not clear because she does not tell us what her race identity is. I noticed that she has a little bit busy melanin and her hair is dark, but I don't know how she identifies because she didn't tell me. All right, let's get started. My Papi has a motorcycle. My Papi has a motorcycle. From him, I've learned words like carburetor and cariño, drill, and dedication. When I hear his gray truck pull into our driveway, I run outside with both of our helmets. My Papi, the carpenter, is covered in sawdust and smells like a hard day at work. His hands are rough from building houses every day, his job since he first arrived in this country. But even though he comes home tired, he always has time for me. Sounds like this is something that they do a lot together, because she said, he always has time for me. They must do this a lot. When our city is winding down, he takes me for a ride. Today, he's going to show me the new houses he's working on. Papi is careful with my ponytail as he pulls my helmet on tight. When he lifts me onto the smooth black seat, his hands don't feel rough. They don't even feel tired. They feel like all the love he has trouble saying. Lista? Sí. He's asking her if she's ready. Papi revs the engine and the smell of gasoline hits me as he squeezes the accelerator. Con cuidado, be careful. The motor rumbles and growls. Vroom. And then we take off. The shiny blue metal of the motorcycle glows in the sun. The bright orange sun is on its way down, turning our sky blue and purple and gold. We become a spectacular celestial thing soaring on asphalt, a comet. The sawdust falling from Papi's hair and clothes becomes a tail following us. Papi zigzags through the streets. We pass Abuelita's church and Tortilleria La Estrella and stop for stray cats crossing in front of us. Mommy thinks there's too many of them, but I think there's just enough. We pass Joy's Market, where Mommy buys my gummy bears. Mr. Garcia, our librarian, is walking out the door and nods at us. We nod back. This is how we always greet each other. That must be something they do a lot. They must know Mr. Garcia really well, because the author said this is how we always greet each other. We roar past murals that tell our history of citrus groves and immigrants who worked them, and of the famous road race that took place on Grand Boulevard 100 years ago. Now I know that we're stopping at Don Rudy's Raspados. I wonder what they do at Don Rudy's. But as we near the shop, we see that it's empty and out of business. I can tell Papi is disappointed. I imagine the smell of the sweet syrups Don Rudy used to flavor our shaved ice. Oh, now I know that when they go to Don Rudy's, they get a shaved ice that has different flavors. I won't be the only one who misses him. As we ride on, I feel and hear everyone and everything we pass by. Each sound landing in my ears rebuilds whole neighborhoods inside me. No matter how far I go from this place or how it changes, this city will always be with me. The illustrator is helping me understand some of the sounds that Daisy's hearing. Chirp, 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 ding, 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 rrr, ha, 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 ha. We cruise by Abuelito and Abuelita's old yellow house, the one with the lemon tree that grew from the seeds of the lemons Abuelita used to pick not far from here. Mommy says we're going to visit them tomorrow to cut nopales from their garden and eat herby albóndigas in Abuelita's kitchen, where the food always tastes better. The author said that word again, always tastes better. It must mean that Daisy has eaten in her Abuelita's kitchen a lot. She knows exactly how it feels and how the food tastes. We turn the corner and then the dogs behind the fences go wild. Ruff, woof, 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 wow, wow, wow. Frankie, the Lopez's Labradoodle, escapes from her yard and runs after us. Mercedes Lopez, the fastest runner in our class, races after her. They're right behind us. Then, just as fast, the dogs barking and Mercedes and Frankie become a soft hush in the distance. We ride toward the new homes, replacing the last of the citrus groves. The painters, drywallers, and floor layers all greet us, but we can barely hear their words amid the sounds of hammers and air compressors. It sounds loud there. I'm imagining what it might sound like to hear lots of hammers. ¿Trabajando duro, muchachos? A little bit, not too much. Even in all that noise, my Papi's voice touches everything. Around the circle! This is my favorite part. On Grand Boulevard, we lean into the curve of the street. I make believe that we're in one of the races that took place here so long ago. It's our last lap and we have to win. The crowd cheers us on. I feel Papi's smile as I squeeze my arms tighter around him. We fly around the circle. There's the school where we practice soccer. There's the post office where Mr. Charlie takes our letters. And La Panaderia where Papi buys conchas on Sunday mornings. Here it is, all of our beautiful city. My eyes try to catch everything, but the colors of houses blend into one another. Red, blue, green, orange, pink. Ride until the blue glow from the motorcycle begins to dim, and our comet tail has been left behind on the streets we've traveled. We head home, and slowly the engine echoes us back onto our street, and then our driveway, our finish line. Mommy and little brother hear the motorcycle and run out to greet us. Mommy waves us in just like a referee. Papi and I can't stop laughing. We had a good ride. Through our laughter, I hear a familiar sound. Honk, honk, raspados. I wonder who it is. Oh, this little truck says raspados, and I remember that that was the same word as the store they were trying to go to, but it was closed. I also noticed that this person is selling shaved ice, and that makes me think that this is Don Rudy, the person who closed the store where he also sold shaved ice. I think about my city and all the changes that it's been through and all the changes that will come. But I know that here in our little house, there are things that will always stay the same. Today, our Good Reader question is going to ask us to make an inference. An inference is a guess based on the evidence we already have. So today, the question is, what do you think those things are that Daisy says will always stay the same? On this last page, she says, I know that here in our little house, there are things that will always stay the same. A good reader will use evidence from the author or from the illustrator to help them make a good guess, a good inference about what those things might be. Take a minute and think about what you think those things might be that always will stay the same. All right, if you can, pause the video and talk to someone close to you about what you think those things are that might always stay the same. Good. One thing that I think will always stay the same is that Daisy's dad will always have time for her. I know that because the author said, even though he comes home tired, he always has time for me. Another thing good readers do is think about the genre. This book is fiction. It's a story. It's not nonfiction about real things, and it's not trying to teach us anything. So I know it's fiction. In a fiction story, there's always characters and a setting. The characters are the people or the animals in the book, and the setting is where the story happens. In this book, there's two main characters. Think about who those characters might be. The most important characters in this book, the main characters, are Daisy and her Papi. There were lots of other characters like Mommy and the brother and her grandparents and Don Rudy and the librarian, but the most important characters were Daisy and her Papi. Now let's think about the setting. Where did this story happen? Take a second and think about that. The setting in this story is in Daisy's city, and I know that because the author said, no matter how far I go from this place or how much it changes, the city will always be with me. I know that the setting of this story is Daisy's city, so I'll write that right here, city. So the characters in this story are Daisy and Papi, and the setting is her city. That's the place that it happens. The last thing we're going to do today is talk about character traits. Say that with me, character traits. Traits are things that we know that we could tell about a character. Today you're going to pick one of the characters and talk about one thing that you know about them, a character trait they have. I'm going to pick her dad, her Papi. One thing I know about her Papi, a character trait he has, is that he is a very hard worker. He works really hard. And I know that because the author said, but even though he comes home tired, I know that he works really hard because he comes home really tired, and that means that he's spent a long day working really hard. So today, you could write about one of the characters and a character trait that they have, something you know about that character. You can send that writing or a video of you talking about that character to your teacher. We would love to see it. Thanks for reading with me today. See you again soon.